Hi everybody, welcome to this Java tutorial. Today we're going to look at selection statements in Java. We'll also do a quick review of some of the concepts that we've already looked at, and we'll finish today by thinking about the importance of designing functions when we design computer programs. So we'll get started with a quick review. The first thing we're going to review is how to create a new project in your IDE. So I'm using Eclipse. I'm going to go New Java Project. I'm going to call this one the Selection Project. Notice that my project name doesn't have any spaces and it starts with a capital letter. This is just my routine for designing project names. Now that I have my project set up, I'm going to go to my source folder and create a new class. This class file is going to store my main function, which every Java program needs. And because this class file is storing my main function, I'm going to call the class file main with a capital M. This is just my routine, and it seems to work for me. Now then, in today's challenge, we're going to ask the user to input two numbers, and my computer program is going to determine which number is the biggest. So to input two numbers from the keyboard, we are going to use the scanner family of code. So I'm going to import java.util.scanner. Now inside my main function, I've already been thinking ahead, guys, and I've designed a little algorithm to help me solve this problem. This is an example of thinking ahead. Before you start programming, how about just creating a list of comments describing how you're going to solve the problem? And then you can start coding. It's a good idea, guys. Think ahead, plan, and then code. The first thing we're going to do is declare a scanner variable. I'm just going to call mine scan. Assign the scanner to the keyboard. I think the code is something like this. I've done it so many times I can remember it. Experience is king. Declare two integer variables. These variables are going to be used to store the two values I get from the keyboard. Ask for the first number. System.out. So we'll just ask for num1 and then get the first number and store it in my num1 variable. So num1 variable will be assigned something from the keyboard. So I'm going to use my scanner variable and I'm going to choose the next int method. Then we're going to ask for the second number, so let's just copy that line of code. And we're going to just ask for num2, and we'll get the second number. So I'm just going to copy that line of code and assign a number from the keyboard to num2. The last thing we're going to do is compare the two numbers to determine which one is biggest. We're going to use selection. So here is the syntax of a selection statement in Java. Sorry, not for, it's if. If a condition is true, we're going to do something. Else, we're going to do something else. Okay? So if a condition is true, we're going to do something. But if the condition is false, we will jump to the else block and execute the else statement. Only one of these statements will be executed, depending on if the condition is true or false. Now the condition that we're looking at today is if num1 is greater than num2. So we'll use this operator, the greater than operator. And if that's true, we will display something in the output. num1, let's do num1 is greater than num2. Else, if that's not true, we're going to say that num2 is greater than num1. So let's run the program and see if it works. Enter num1, it's 5. Enter num2, it's 1. 5 is greater than 1. Whoa, seems to work. But we haven't properly tested the code yet. We need to test this situation, the else. So let's run it again and test that situation. This time num1 is a small number and num2 is a big number. 5 is greater than 1. So this code has been tested. It works. But still, we haven't properly tested our code. What if the numbers are the same? What do you think the answer will be? So our program works, but the logic of the program is not complete. It's not correct. We need to expand our logic a little bit. If num1 is greater than num2, we're going to do this. Else, if... We need another condition here. If condition. If num2 is greater than num1, we're going to do this. And there is another condition, which is the final condition. It's the only other possible scenario. The two numbers are the same. So we'll just use else. Num1 is the same as num2. Okay, so that's really the logic to solve the problem that we described at the beginning of this tutorial. Now, what I want to suggest to you is, what if we want to run this process twice? We could copy and paste all of this code, just copy it and then paste it, and then we can run the same code twice. That's not really the best solution, because if we want to make some changes to the original code, maybe I want to change this word num to number, and here I want to change that to number, I would also have to make that change in the pasted code that I just pasted. So if I want to change my code, I'm making more work for myself. A smarter way to do it is to take all the code that you want to include in a task and design a new function. I'm going to call this compare two numbers. This is my compare two numbers function. And my compare two numbers function does all of that. That's what my compare two numbers function does. Now, if I run my program, nothing happens. No errors, but nothing happens. This is because in my main function, I haven't called the compare two numbers function. I need to call it to activate it. So let's call it. We're going to call that function, and then we're going to run. And here we go. We're in the function now. We started in main, it called this function, and now we've gone into the function. We are currently on line 29. Enter num1. Now what if I want to run this code twice? In my main function, why don't I just call it again? Okay. Let's run this and see if it works. This is the first call, and this is the second call. And that's the end of the program. Okay, so that's the beauty of designing functions which have a specific purpose and then you can call those functions when you need to use the functions.